Ahoy there, Team 24. My name is Gemma and welcome to part one of an absolute monumental pickups video, because over the last couple of weeks I've been going down to Doorway to Darkness and I've actually made 2 trips. So in the second part of this pickups extravaganza, you're also going to see some additional footage of the shop from my second trip. And the reason I made a second trip is because when I went down in this episode, which I will link in the cards, there were a number of things that when I was watching the footage back, I said, I actually want those games. So I reached back out to James, shout out to James and Gemma at Doorway to Darkness, please go and check out their shop. And I said, please put them to one side for me. So I managed to find some time last Saturday and I nipped down. So there'll be an extra episode, which will be part 2 of this absolute monster. So I'm hoping to get that episode released on Saturday. So for now, I'm going to show you what's at my feet. I'm very, very happy, and I just feel the need just to kind of convey how happy video games really make me. And I just want you to kind of listen in, because I think you'll be able to empathise. I love hunting for video games. I love talking to you about video games. I love talking to shop owners. I love writing about video games, filming about video games, playing video games, making content, streaming. Everything about this hobby and right here, what I'm about on this channel makes me feel absolutely elated. So if you can empathise with that, if you can relate to that, I think you're in the right place, and I think you're really going to enjoy these next insanely huge, jam-packed with nostalgia episodes. We're going to be taking a look, we're going to roll the intro in a second, and we'll be taking a hyper look, so we're going to be diving into a bit more depth in some of the titles I've picked up here. So let's roll it and we'll get on with it. So here we go. First pickup, a PlayStation 2 Slim. As you know, mine actually broke. It fell off the shelf when I moved, and James had one of these in, and you don't see them this nice that often, especially with the pink you know, the case. It just makes things really, really pop for me. And I will, we can hear my dog in the background, I will be setting this up as my primary Slim. I'm going to show you guys what the condition of this is inside throughout, but I was really, really happy to find not only a PlayStation 2 Slim, but complete with the memory cards, complete with the case, because again, the collector in me, the case you don't see that often, and when you do, it tends to bump up the price to a point where you think, oh, that's kind of borderline not worth it for me. So I am selling the broken 4-part spares and repairs, my broken PlayStation 2 Slim pink. So just reach out to me on Facebook if you want to buy it, we can sort something out. I'll link Facebook in the description. But really, really happy with this purchase, and pink and yellow being my favourite colours. I just wish there was an official yellow release of the Slim, because it would complement my PlayStation 2 console collection perfectly. So really, really happy with this. I actually don't know if there's anything in this front pocket. Oh, there's 2 zips. I'm doing the wrong zip. No, there's nothing in there, but the case itself is in really nice condition. So as a first pickup, this is booting us off, and I'm really, really happy with this. Next up, now this one's an interesting one for me. I'm not going to do a hyper focus on this, because I think I might do a completely separate episode about Addams Family Values on the Super Nintendo. I'll just bring it in. You can see Lurch with, I think it's the Baby Pubert, I think it's called, very weird name. Now this is an RPG which lends very heavily from Link to the Past. And there's lots of things in my research leading up to this game that I found quite fascinating, and I feel that it warrants an episode on its own. So I might do that, I might not, I'll kind of see how I feel. But this is quite expensive to buy on PAL, and it's very expensive if you want it box complete on PAL. So I picked this up on eBay for £35, and obviously I have an NTSC Super Nintendo, and of course I have this, if I can get it, this Super Nintendo here, which Raw Talent Art modded for me, and to be able to play in 50Hz, 60Hz, all different kinds of mods in this, and I can actually, you know, use the connector there to play my NTSC games. There's also a full episode on this custom Super Nintendo, should you choose to go and watch that on the channel. So, Addams Family Values on the Super Nintendo, lots more Snes in this episode and the next one as well. Let's continue. So we'll carry on with the following Super Nintendo games. This one wasn't from Doorway to Darkness, but I did pick this Addams Family actually up for, I don't know how much, I think I've probably got ripped off a little bit on this. This was from the dreaded mobile game exchange for 50 quid. They wouldn't, like I said, they wouldn't give me anything off, which is absolutely fine. But this is boxed complete, and this is a very interesting one. With Addams Family games, you've got Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt, there's Addams Family, and then of course we've got Addams Family Values. This is the side scroller. You play, oh dude, it has eluded me. I forgot the dad's name in Addams Family. I'll put it on the screen now. You play as him, and it's just a nice side scrolling action platform kind of game with, you know, very familiar scenes from the film. Obviously we got the full cast on here in terms of the box art. They haven't tried to use any of the Super Nintendo graphics characters. It is the actual Addams Family, and this is quite a fun game. It's not an amazing game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a really, really fun game. So this next title then, we have some Super Smash TV on the SNES, and we're going to take a hyper focus at this and look at some gameplay, some facts, and just how this game plays. Before we do that though, it is a damn shame that we got some stickers here, but there's plenty of methods to remove stickers. You can use the hairdryer method. I have some special fluid that is designed specifically for removing stickers off boxes. Not quite sure, maybe the previous owner thought that was a good idea, I don't know. But let's take a hyper focus now on Super Smash TV on the Super Nintendo. Super Smash TV, super indeed. Have you ever seen Running Man? You know, the game show where you basically need to shoot the crud out of everybody, including enemies, in order to survive and win the game? Well, this is pretty much the premise of Super Smash TV. It's actually creases me because it's set in the year 1999, which, as we now know, there was nothing futuristic about the year 1999. In fact, we were still well into the era of cartridge-based video games. That's how unfuturistic it really, really was. But in the early 90s, I guess 1999 seemed like a far cry, and this was the result. We get the likes of Super Smash TV, which is a fun, awesome, wicked arena-based shooter, and it really did influence later games, which I think, like, you know, think of along the lines of the indie scene and Xeno Crisis, the classically heavily lent on video game inspired by this. It was such a good little game, and I've streamed it and I've loved it, and this is definitely a game you need to get. But if you've not got a Super Nintendo, don't you worry, because it's out on the NES and the Game Gear, to name but a few. I do believe there's also a Master System port as well. So no matter what your retro gaming taste is, Super Smash TV is going to be a game that you can enjoy on pretty much any of your consoles. A big hitter next now, a very big hitter. I finally got myself a copy of Breath of Fire on the Super Nintendo. This is the NTSC version, and the box is a little bit battered, and it did come without manual initially, but I have purchased a repro manual from somebody that I buy some very minimal, actually, when I do decide to buy manuals and inlays, but I got it from Etsy, and I am missing the map. So if you can help me source the map for Breath of Fire, that would be phenomenal. Now, Breath of Fire for me is it's become a bit of a, I guess not fascination as such, but a real point of interest rather in my gaming palette, because I'm really wanting to get into the RPGs that I never played as a little girl, and Breath of Fire is one of those, which I love the pixel art, I love the whole top-down nature. Breath of Fire is a gorgeous series as well that you can obtain on the likes of the Game Boy Advance. I did pick up Breath of Fire and Breath of Fire 2, and then obviously going into the PlayStation 1 era, you can get the additional Breath of Fire games on the PlayStation 1 as well. So for me, this is a really nice staple title on the Super Nintendo, and I think it is worth a little bit of a hyper focus. So let's take a look at some gameplay, again some facts and just some tidbits of information to tickle your nostalgia palate. Breath of Fire now, over on the gorgeous Super Nintendo, later to be released on the Game Boy Advance, fortunately own both copies, thumbs up, is a classic little role-playing game with a traditional two-dimensional environments, taking that top-down, that classic top-down, as I always compare pretty much all RPGs to Link to the Past that have that top-down format, and you basically meander through the world leveling up in classic RPG fashion. Now, I did chuckle at this as the main character is called Ryu, not to be confused with Ryu from Street Fighter 2, but nonetheless it is a pretty cool name if I do say so myself. I've often thought that having a cat called Ryu would also be a pretty gnarly feat. Now, this is a game that I have been after for quite some time, and the reason I've held off is because it can be quite expensive if you get it box complete and immaculate, and when I say expensive I'm talking above 170 quid. But I got my copy, as I've already mentioned, with a bit of a tattered box, got the inserts and then the cartridge, and I did go in for the reproduction manual. Like I said, I'm missing map. I do think I would be happy with a reproduction map, but I'm yet to find a really good one. So for me, I love these kinds of games in terms of visuals. The visuals are the things that draw me in, and then the gameplay and the experience is all going to come after, so I'm dying to dive into this, and I'm also dying to dive into the following. I need Breath of Fire 2 as well, let's face it. I've got to get that now on the Super Nintendo, and then I'm just going to keep playing through the GBA stuff, and later I think it's like Breath of Fire 4 on the PS1. I'm excited, guys, but I'm finally happy to have this in my collection. Two really obscure items up next then. We have the Nintendo Power guides for Donkey Kong Country 2 and Yoshi's Island. Now, Nintendo Power was a magazine over in the United States. I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of copies from Jess's collection that she kindly donated to me. And if you buy these on eBay, if you have a look at Super Nintendo guides just in general, you can expect to pay upwards of £20. But then you're kind of diving into the more obscure territory here. We'll say something like the Nintendo guides, the Nintendo Power guides, sorry. And you're kind of creeping up there again in terms of price and obscurity. So you might have seen these in the first of recent, I think it was actually the third Doorway to Darkness trip, but it was the first Doorway to Darkness trip that I've done recently, where James put these on the counter, and I knew immediately, obviously owning both of the games and me as an avid Super Nintendo lover and collector, that these were coming home with me. So very, very happy to have these. I might actually just get these kind of covered in their own little kind of plastic cases just to keep the edges crisp, even though they're not very crisp as such. It would be nice to maintain the current kind of standard of these, so really, really happy with that. Next up, we have a PSP game, Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. And for me, this is quite special because I've never played it. And it's Castlevania, for me, over the last maybe 18 months or so, has been one of those series that I have started to really educate myself on, because it was a series that I never ever grew up with, I never played. So kind of now over the last 18 months especially, and with the release of the Advanced Collection on the PlayStation 4, it's really, really piqued my interest. Symphony of the Night is also on my list to obtain, but this game, again in doing my research, has the classic side-scrolling Castlevania gameplay, really well and executed, narrated and visually. Cutscenes, the cutscenes are absolutely fantastic. I'll roll one now so you can just kind of hear them and see them for yourselves.
Und so begab es sich, dass nach 100 Jahren das Böse wieder Fleisch geworden war. Als unsterbliches Geschöpf der Nacht kann es die Gestalt des Wolfs, der Fledermaus oder des Nebels annehmen. Es labt sich am Blut.
So really finely polished, I think, and I'm really excited to dive into this. I have got some Castlevania games in my collection if you've been following me for quite some time. I've also streamed oh my god, I've streamed some on Twitch as well from the Advanced Collection. My dog's crying behind me, and I plan to stream some more. So let's have a little bit of discussion in the comment section. I want you guys to tell me what Castlevania games I should perhaps look out for and give me kind of ideas on price. Obviously that's going to vary from region to region, but I'm willing to kind of take note of things you guys say in the comment section. Now this next game is not obscure, but for me, the release, I've never seen the limited edition version of Tomb Raider Underworld, which reminds me very much of the Tomb Raider Anniversary release, where you've got the slipcase, you take the game out of the slipcase, you open it up, and there's just a beautiful array of Tomb Raider artwork. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have this for my collection. And I do need to, I mean, I have my modded PlayStation 3 here. I'm going to be diving into some PS3 this week, and this might be one that I play through again from start to finish. So literally, how cool is this limited edition of Tomb Raider Underworld? Now imagine a cake, when you finish baking a cake and you put those sprinkles on top. These next little items are just that. They are the sprinkles on top of the gorgeous cake of video games that I've just shown you. These are Pokemon trainer badges. I have 4 out of 6 that were from the early 2000s. If you were to compete competitively, you kind of get these. I'll put additional things on Instagram because they're quite fiddly to give you guys a good view on camera, so go and follow me on Instagram, guys. So these were really, really cool. I do now need to get the other 2 to complete my little collection. So that's part 1. We've got some really nice Super Nintendo games. I finally got a much better pink PlayStation 2 Slim in my collection, and you should see what I have in part 2 coming for you. Again, there'll be some new, brand new, never before seen footage from Doorway to Darkness, and some games that I'm really, really proud of. So hopefully you'll join me for that, but make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss an ep, and I'll catch you then. My name is Gemma. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.